we interrupt our regularly scheduled program to bring you this breaking news alert.
Of course, that breaking news is the jury has reached a verdict in the case against Jennifer Crumbley. We have been following this very closely. The decision is expected to be read at any moment now as court gets back in session.
The mother of the Oxford High School shooter is the first parent in the U.S. to be charged in a mass school shooting committed by their child. Prosecutors have argued that gross negligence by Jennifer and her husband James played a role in this tragedy.
Jennifer Crumbley spent 7 days in court hearing the case against her, even taking the stand in her own defense. She tried to convince the jury that she did not know her son was crying out for help and, of course, on the brink of this violent attack.
Tate Muir, Madison Baldwin, Hannah St. Juliana, and Justin Schilling were killed in the mass shooting more than 2 years ago.
Still just a tragedy in this community. Now the verdict comes down to whether or not the jury believed her in this unprecedented case.
Jennifer Crumbley is charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 for each of the students killed by her son at Oxford High School. Legal experts say that charge is filed when a person has no intention of killing someone, but their careless actions result in death.
Involuntary manslaughter is a felony here in Michigan, punishable by up to 15 years in prison and a fine of up to $7,500 at the discretion of the court. Let's turn to 7 Action News reporter Sarah Michaels for more reaction. She is in the hallway right outside the courtroom. Sarah, what are you hearing, especially because this decision is going to be read really soon?
Carolyn, Heather, all of us have been waiting on pins and needles to hear exactly what this verdict will be. Right here inside of the courtroom, we're all waiting to see what the verdict will be. We've been waiting for a day and a half while the jury deliberates. Now, at the beginning of this week, a lot of legal experts were saying that they expected a verdict to come early in the day, Monday. They told us that the longer that the jury took to deliberate, the better it bodes for the defense. They also said that this verdict, it will set a kind of roadmap or precedent for future cases. We have James Crumbley's coming up in March, and also they said for any future parent who may be tried in connection to their children's crimes and mass shootings. To find Jennifer guilty, the jury had to find her grossly negligent towards her son, the shooter. In an effort to do that last week, the prosecution brought forth a great deal of evidence. Among the top evidence presented was that the shooter wrote in a journal telling his parents he was having hallucinations and struggles. And if I want to take a moment right now, you can see we have a lot of the courtroom going inside right now telling us that a verdict could be coming any minute. Take a look at that. Some of the evidence that we also heard last week was that the shooter told his parents about hallucinations and struggling with his mental health, and that he says his parents ignored his pleas and even laughed at him at times. The prosecution also talked about how the shooter's parents bought him a gun amid his mental health struggles, the very gun used in the school shooting. During closing arguments, the prosecution talked a great deal about how the morning of the shooting, the shooter drew a picture of a gun in class, and he wrote next to that picture, "The thoughts won't stop. Help me. Blood everywhere." When that picture was discovered, the prosecution said that Jennifer Crumbley and her husband James Crumbley were called into the school, and when they were shown the picture, they failed to tell the school that they had a gun. That was something that was talked about a lot in court. Now, the defense has been saying this whole time that there's no way that Jennifer Crumbley could have known this was going to happen. They said there's no way anybody could have known that this was going to happen, talking at that time about the assistant principal, how they saw the shooter in the school hallway the day of the shooting, and said that they asked if the shooter was okay because there's no way that they thought the shooter was capable of doing exactly this. That's what the defense is saying, arguing against the prosecution for the past week. We're going to be live out here until we receive that verdict. Heather, Carolyn, it could be coming any minute now, and as you know, this is going to be historic for the country. Absolutely. Of course, the nation is watching, and we just saw people walk back into that courtroom, of course, waiting for the jury. Sarah Michaels, thank you for that report. We'll be checking back with you in just a few minutes.
Yes, and you did see they're waiting for the jury. They also appear to still be waiting for the defendant, so that's going to take a few minutes to get that situated. It looks like she may be coming in now, so we are getting closer.
Closer and closer within minutes. Now, while we wait to hear from the jury, let's bring in our legal expert. Attorney Todd Flood has been both a prosecutor and a defense attorney. Todd, thank you so much for giving us your time today. What do you make so far? The deliberations spilling into a second day, 6 hours yesterday, 5 hours today. What are your thoughts right now?
I think, candidly, you have to applaud the jury for taking it seriously. They took it wasn't a quick verdict in the sense that they went in and took a vote and decided to come out one way or the other. They had to pour through the evidence. And I would imagine there was probably a juror or two that was maybe struggling with the case and wanted to go through it and listen to the other jurors. That would make sense to me. And maybe get one juror or two jurors to come to the decision of either guilty or not guilty. That's, to me, is probably what took place. You think, in relative terms, it wasn't that long of a time.
Todd, what do you make of the jury coming back yesterday? Of course, they've been paying really close attention to this case, but coming back with two questions for the judge just to clarify things in their mind.
I liked the questions in the sense they were helpful for the prosecution, I thought. The questions really kind of went around the fact you could have alternate theories and still find the person guilty. That means that each juror could have one theory of why they believed the defendant was guilty. You didn't have to have a unanimous theory or understanding of what it was that you believed the prosecution proved beyond a reasonable doubt. So that, I think, was in favor of the government, of the prosecution. And the clarification of use your collective minds. Use your minds as you understood the evidence. They're the Supreme Court of the facts. I always say the jurors, we have the judge, she's the Supreme Court of the law, and we have the jurors, they're the Supreme Courts of the facts. So they have to look at those facts and apply them. I thought the jury instructions were clear, and it was good, I think, overall for the prosecution.
Now, Todd, this is clearly a trailblazer of a case. I mean, the nation is watching, setting precedent when it comes down to charging a parent in a mass shooting. I know the defense argued against this, telling other people, think about it if you were a parent, but what do you make of this?
I know this wasn't a case about policy. This was a case about law and facts. When you listen to Karen McDonald, that's how she charged it. And I also think, that argument that the defense made, candidly, was an attempt to nullify the jury. There was plenty of objections that could have been made to that, because you're only supposed to look at the facts and the law. You're not supposed to go outside of the facts. And the fact that she started arguing about policies and how, this will basically ripple through our country, I thought was an inappropriate argument.
Todd, we do want to say, because
standpoint.
we're looking at live footage of the courtroom, and Jennifer Crumbley just walked into the courtroom, so we do need to be mindful of that. Really quickly, for involuntary manslaughter, what does the jury need to find in order to find her guilty of involuntary manslaughter?
Really simple. It's that the mother had a duty, and she didn't adhere to that duty of taking ordinary care of making sure that her son, didn't shoot. She gave him a gun. She didn't use the care, or on that fatal day, she could have, and she failed to act. And it was foreseeable. That's the big key. It was foreseeable, reasonable, that something really bad could happen. She was the one that knew he had a gun and saw those pictures. So I would imagine, I can't imagine a not guilty in this case, but we shall see.
A last question for you, Todd. When it comes to the prosecutor, I mean, she laid out a lot of evidence. We saw the gun, we saw the writings, we saw what the mom and dad were doing, running and that sort of thing. Did they show that the shooting was reasonably foreseeable, in your opinion?
It was reasonably foreseeable something really ugly was going to happen, and that's all you really need, right? You give a young man a gun who's in a spiral of mental illness. What do you think is a reasonable chance of him either using it on himself or someone else? That to me is reasonably foreseeable. All you had to do is take a step back and say, I just saw this picture. What would a mom do? What would a reasonable mom do that has that duty? Call a timeout. Talk to him. Tell work, I'm going to take the day off. I got to get my son into a clinic. because this picture he just drew was so disturbing. And then if she really cared, she would adhere to the advice of the counselor that was sitting in that room. We need to get him into counseling.
Absolutely.
So I think that's reasonably foreseeable.
And we see that the prosecutor, of course, is in the courtroom. Jennifer Crumbley is there with her attorney. Was it a mistake, Todd, for Jennifer Crumbley to testify in her own defense? A lot of things came out, affairs, threesomes, a lot of, personal things came out. But was it a mistake to put her on the stand and have her testify in her own defense?
Knowing if you're the defense attorney and knowing what your client would say in the questions, especially in your direct examination, when she said that if I had to turn back the hands of time, and I paraphrase, what would I do differently? She in essence said nothing, as opposed to, I would have never given him a gun, or I would have taken the gun away. Those things I thought were shocking. Jurors don't like it when there's obviously lies or impeachment of the defendant. I thought there was, she claimed to be a helicopter mom. Quite candidly, I don't think the helicopter ever got out of the gate, let alone her going around taking care of this child. So,
Todd, I'm going to have you pause because I think the judge is walking in right now. She's getting ready to sit down, and I do believe she's getting ready to read the verdict. I do believe we're going to listen in right now, correct? We're going to listen in to Oakland County Circuit Court.
Your Honor, calling People v. Jennifer Crumbley, case number 22279-990 at page.
Good afternoon, Karen McDonald on behalf of the people.
Thank you, Marquise, on behalf of the people.
Good afternoon, I'm Shannon Smith on behalf of Jennifer Crumbley, who sits to my left.
All right, are you ready for the jury?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm going to ask when the jury reads their verdict. After that, I want everyone to remain seated.
Judge, do you want us to stay seated?
It's up to you. It's up to you. I really want the audience to stay seated after the verdict's read and after that. And it's
it doesn't matter.
She can stay.
Okay. Do you want us to all right, for the jury.
Good afternoon, you may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been informed that you got a verdict. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are you the correct person?
I am.
Could you please read your verdict?
Individually?
Sure.
Okay. On count 1 of involuntary manslaughter as to Madison Baldwin, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. On count 2 of involuntary manslaughter in regards to Tate Muir, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. On count 3 as to involuntary manslaughter regarding Hannah St. Juliana, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And in count 4 of involuntary manslaughter against Justin Schilling, we find the defendant guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
Thank you, Forewoman. You can be seated. And I'm going to ask Ms. Williams to hold the jury.
Juror in seat number 1, was that and is that your verdict?
It is.
Juror in seat number 2, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 3, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 5, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 6, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 7, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 8, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 11, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 12, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 13, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 14, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 16, was that and is that your verdict?
Yes.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We all know that this is one of the hardest things you've ever done. I'm going to ask you to return to the jury room. The two remaining alternates are also going to join you, and I'll be with you in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All rise for the jury.
All right, you may be seated. Time as we vote, and I'm considering April 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning for sentencing with that.
That should be fine, Judge. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
April 9th at 9 o'clock is fine. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to ask everyone to remain seated while the defendant is taken out of court.
All rise. You may be seated.
Jennifer Crumbley there just exiting the courtroom. This, of course, is a groundbreaking case. We just heard the verdict read aloud in court for Jennifer Crumbley, guilty on all 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. She is facing potentially 15 years behind bars. The nation, Heather, has been watching this case. We've been going back and forth, speaking with legal experts. We just heard former prosecutor Todd Flood talk about some of the case presented in this case, some of the evidence presented in this case.
Hundreds of pieces of evidence, 7 days of testimony. Obviously, both sides have been preparing for years for this. She's been in custody this whole time. She's going back into custody, obviously, because, again, guilty on all 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Parents throughout this process, the parents of the victims have been talking about the need for accountability.
Absolutely.
They need accountability from the school. They need accountability from the judicial system. They just got that, at least in this first of the trials. The shooter obviously sentenced already, and now we'll find out how many years Jennifer Crumbley will be facing with this guilty verdict.
Potentially 15 years behind bars. Joining us now is former Wayne County Circuit Court Chief Judge Timothy Kenny. Judge Kenny, thank you so much for joining us today. You just heard guilty on all 4 counts. Just give us your reaction. I don't know if you've been following this case very closely, but people have said back and forth, maybe she would be found guilty, maybe she wouldn't, but this certainly sets a precedent for any parent out there listening. And if their kid is in trouble, whether they have mental health issues or not, you have to pay attention. What are your thoughts?
Well, certainly it is an unprecedented case and charges that have been brought in this particular case. And for those of us who are parents and have raised children through those challenging teenage years, we recognize that there are things that our teenage kids don't always share with us and can be concerning. But I think in this particular case, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that this case, I think, was driven in great respect with the fact specifics of the background. And particularly, I think what was compelling was the way that Jennifer Crumbley handled that school meeting the day of the shooting. I mean, with all of this concern about the mental health issues and his having a gun and the drawing, to then have an 11 or 12-minute meeting with school officials and then say, I've got to go back to work, I think is pretty strong evidence to indicate that it's reflective that Jennifer Crumbley blew through a lot of red lights that she should have been aware of.
And to think that she is,
her son.
And to think that they are the ones who purchased the gun for their son. She was at the shooting range with her son. From all accounts, this young man was crying out for help, and he just didn't get the help that he needed, as we saw in court.
Yes, and I think, and circling back to one of the comments that was made earlier before the verdict when you were interviewing Todd Flood, the notion of the value of the defendant testifying. You know, was she going to help her case or not? From my perspective as a former judge, I would say, first of all, juries don't like it when someone, either the victim or the defendant, gets on the stand and lies and presents a story that is not very believable. And I think to characterize herself as a hypervigilant parent, the surrounding evidence and facts belied that, I think. And I think that that does not help her any in terms of trying to raise the issue of reasonable doubt when you portray yourself in a way that is simply untrue, and the jury sees through that.
Judge, do you have any sense of what this sentence will look like for Jennifer Crumbley? How many years she could get? I mean, we know the maximum, but we also know there's been sentencing reform. So can you give us some insight on that?
Sure. Well, there will be, sentencing guidelines that will be prepared with regards to not only this particular offense, but also Jennifer Crumbley's background. But I think just as this is an unprecedented trial, the sentencing is going to present unprecedented issues as well. And there will be an opportunity once again for the families of the 4 victims to make impact statements. And, the reality is, I mean, you have these young lives that have been tragically lost, and multiple lives murdered. That's going to have an impact, I would think. But I would have every confidence that the judge will be mindful of all of the standards that are set forward here. But I mean, I would think that certainly a prison sentence is inevitable.
Well, Judge Kinney, we certainly appreciate your time, sir, and giving us insight, because like we've said over and over again, the eyes of the nation are watching this case. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, oh my goodness, that could be me. But thank you so much for your insight. We're going to go back to the courtroom now with our reporters, Sarah Michaels and Kimberly Craig. They've been following this case very, very closely. I think of people, I mean, you could have gone either way in terms of what you thought might happen today, but I'm sure a lot of people are paying close attention with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter and her being found guilty. Sarah, you're listening in. What are your thoughts? What are you hearing from there?
Well, it's a historic verdict with so much weight around it. And my colleague Kim Craig was inside the courtroom as the jury was delivering that verdict. And Kim, you were saying that, understandably so, the jury was quite emotional.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of the jurors, some of the women jurors, they were, looked like they were crying, looked like they were very emotional, teary-eyed, dabbing some tears. Obviously, they've been deliberating since yesterday, 10 a.m., and they've really put a lot into this. And even Justin Schilling's father told us yesterday that he understood that this was a monumental task for this jury. Like you said, a historic verdict. And so this jury has really been paying close attention. We keep looking over our shoulder here because we're waiting for the parents of Justin Schilling to come out. But this jury, they really paid attention. I saw a number of jurors taking notes throughout the process. Even Justin Schilling's father was taking notes throughout the process. And the judge, I think it may have even taken longer than some people may have anticipated, because the judge instructed the jury. She said, if you want to look at any of the videos, you have to look at the entire video. You can't just fast forward to any particular clip, such as when they brought the Crumbleys in to speak to their son at the sheriff's office, when the Crumbleys were in the back of the police vehicle. They had to look at all of it. So that took time, I'm sure. And obviously you want to get it right. Everything was, the foundation was the same for every count, but there was only one charge in this. So if they found her guilty on one for Tate, then it would be guilty also for Madison, as for Hannah, as for Justin, because the foundation, it was 4 counts, but it was the same charge. And so they took their time, even though, it wasn't, there weren't a lot of charges. there was still a lot to weigh in this case.
And you talk about the parents of Justin Schilling. We did see them leave the courtroom just before you were able to come out. And Craig Schilling told us no comment for this time. They are the parents of Justin Schilling, who is known for just being the most kind student, and them telling us that they know that their son Justin would have been a friend to the shooter. Yesterday, something that stood out to me was when Craig Schilling said that every parent in America should be watching this, because the verdict that we get today could impact future children. It will impact future children, very likely. I'm wondering, too, were you able to see Jennifer Crumbley inside of the courtroom?
Yeah, she seemed like, almost like she took a little, like a jerk, like she was shocked. You know, some may say she should have been shocked, some may say she should not have been shocked, but she certainly seemed surprised. And we're not going to get the chance to talk to the attorneys. As you know, we won't be hearing from the defense attorney, we won't be hearing from the prosecutor because of the gag order in the case. And so, James Crumbley is still coming up, her husband, Jennifer Crumbley's husband, he's coming up for trial in March. And so there's going to be no interviews and no communication to the media outside of what's presented in motions and things like that, and what we see in court from either side.
Was there anything else in the courtroom when that verdict was delivered, the atmosphere in there, that stood out to you?
You know what, I have to say, even a lot of the journalists that were sitting there, we've been there for days. As soon as, and it was a very relaxed atmosphere prior to hearing that there was a verdict, but once we heard that there was a verdict, it was like everybody just kind of like, just like, it was a tense moment, because, this is something that the entire community, not just us journalists, we're just here as the eyes and ears of the community, and to bring that information back to them. But it was almost like, we're all part of this community, and so just like people were probably, at home, at their office, on their tablets and cell phones, waiting to see what happened, we were in there just the same way. We have no insight and no heads up as to what their verdict is going to be. So, and I think at this point, I'm sure there likely will be an appeal, but, like a lot of folks will say, you have to respect the jury's decision.
Sarah, I don't mean to
talk
interrupt
about
you,
Jennifer Crumbley.
Hey,
Go ahead,
Sarah. Sarah?
Yes.
We do want to ask
Yes.
Kim one question from being inside the court. Heather, go ahead.
Yeah, as we know from past trials, being inside the courtroom is a totally different experience than those of us that are watching it come in online. And Kim, you were there for so many of the days. Share with us what that was like and some of the differences and nuances you probably noticed that we didn't get to see as it was fed into all of our newsrooms and onto all of our laptops and televisions.
Yeah, there's just a certain feeling when you're there and you're present, when you're watching this. And I will have to say the most impactful moment was when they were playing the surveillance video of the shooting. It's something we couldn't show, and the judge instructed us not to even show it. But so when you're seeing it there in the courtroom with the jury, it was tough. You really, they're not just the emotions of what has happened, but your sense and your heartbreak for these families having to relive this for those that have seen the video, and it just it makes it more real. There's still a buffer even for us in media, when we're covering a case, but when you see it happening, it's tough. It really is tough. And I've been doing this for a long time, but it doesn't get any easier when you think about what these families have been through, what they've gone through, what they're going to continue to go through for the rest of their lives. And like I was telling you earlier, Sarah, Heather, and Carolyn, the jury was really paying attention to it, and that was remarkable. We're not, of course, allowed to show you the jury, but this jury was really paying attention. They were taking notes, and so you had to believe in your heart when they're done, they were going to come up with the verdict that they believed was just.
And when you think about it, Kim and Sarah, we got a chance to speak to the parents of Justin. We spoke to the parents of Hannah and Tate and Madison, and they all wanted justice for their children, whether it came from the school or for the parents they believe are responsible for their children now being in heaven. This affected this entire community, and they are still grieving. Kim, you talked about Justin Schilling's father sitting there taking notes, but also crying in that courtroom along with some of the women on that jury. This has affected everyone.
So many people. I mean, it's, you know, and Sarah, you know this as well. It's like when you're sitting in there, it's like, you know, you're right next to the people that have lost, you know, loved ones. And something that was, you know, I'm sure that Mr. Schilling's father shares the same sentiments, I know he does, that every parent does that lost a child or that was injured or affected in the shooting, and that they want justice from top to bottom. They want accountability from top to bottom. And so whether it be with the parents, you know, the shooter has obviously been sentenced to life. Now we'll see what Jennifer Crumbley's sentence will be in April. And then, of course, her husband. But then, you know, there are so many people that feel like the school has some responsibility. And, you know, and that can be argued for another day. And I know there are attorneys and people that have much more information on that than I do. But they want accountability. Who knew what, when, who could have stopped any of this from happening before it did.
Yes, indeed they do. And Kim and Sarah, you all have done a great job being our eyes and ears there in the courtroom.
Yes, it's been a very long trial in the sense of having to go through this for the last 7 days, watching all the evidence come in, watching the witnesses go through all of the testimony, and then, of course, watching the jurors' reaction. But once again, 4 counts of guilty. Jennifer Crumbley will be facing a lengthy prison term.
We do want to go back to former prosecutor Todd Flood. He is, I believe, on the phone because we do want to get his reaction. We spoke to him before the verdict was read. Todd, are you with us?
I am.
Oh, so guilty on all 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. I know the parents of Justin, Hannah, Tate, and Madison were listening closely. As parents all over this country, I'm sure we're listening to this verdict and taking notice. What is your reaction?
Hopefully there's some closure for the family, some mercy that, you know, they can rest in. This is a case when you're in that situation, it's so emotional, it's so difficult to go through, and my heart, like everyone else, goes out to the family.
Oh, yeah.
I candidly think that the fact that this is a guilty verdict should not be a surprise. And one of the best judges in our country you just had on, Tim Kenny, who said this was based on his belief on facts. Although, you know, it's landmark because we've never had a mass shooting manslaughter case held to a parent. We've had parents in the past that have had convictions based on leaving a gun out and a child using the gun. We just had one in South Carolina. So that is not novel in and of itself because you can see you have a job to do, a duty to uphold when you have a deadly weapon. So I'm not surprised by the verdict. I thought the facts were there. I thought the prosecution laid out the facts, and starting back from that day of November 30th, it's a great analogy. How many red lights do you have to go through before, you know, you can say you actually did something? To me, it was clear the defendant did nothing. It was almost abandonment to some degree. That being said, I think the guidelines in this case, the sentencing guidelines in this case, I think the top end is 58 months. But guidelines in the state of Michigan, as Judge Kenny alluded to, they're advisory. So I would imagine, you know, the max she can get is 2/3 of the top number, so it would be 10 to 15. And if that were the case, if she got 10 to 15, she would have to go through the parole board to get out.
Todd, I want to ask you a question, though. I want to ask you a question. I know what she's looking at. We're looking ahead, though, to James Crumbley. What are his attorneys thinking now? Because if his wife was just found guilty on all 4 counts, and she basically sat in that seat and said, "No, I didn't handle the gun. That was my husband who handled the gun." She almost tried to lay blame at his feet. So, you know, what are his attorneys thinking going forward?
Exactly what not to do in this defense, but I think it's a roadmap for him. And I think you can glom onto two things that came out. How did he get the gun? Where was the gun specifically located? How was it that he had access to the bullets? If that is anything, you would definitely want to pierce down onto those elements, those facts, because the jury had those questions. Also, they wanted to know about the shooter. Why didn't he testify? Well, he was going to claim the fifth. We all knew that, but you might want to have some way or some ability to address that. So I could see that taking place in the defense strategy. My thoughts really about an effective defense would not be, getting into your personal life, your family lives. I think it would have to really deal with showing he could not want this to happen, one, and two, couldn't expect it to happen. That's really got to be the defense. And I think the roadmap is there for him.
Well, Todd,
again, it's all going to boil down to facts.
Absolutely, Todd. Todd, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your insight, as always, your analysis. You have been here for us and giving us a roadmap into that courtroom. But, oh my, a lot of people talking about this case today, really, across America.
Very historic decision. Of course, this all goes back to that tragic day none of us will ever forget. It was November 30th, 2021. Go ahead.
The Crumbleys were summoned to school after a teacher found a disturbing note on their son's desk depicting a gun, a bullet, and the words blood everywhere. The thoughts won't stop. Help me. Critical in this case. A meeting with his parents took place at the school right around 10 a.m. They were advised to get counseling for their son within 48 hours, but the shooter was allowed to return to class and his backpack was not searched by either his parents or the school.
Then, just before 1 in the afternoon, the 15-year-old emerged from a bathroom with the gun his father had bought him days before, killing 4 students, wounding 6 others and a teacher.
In October of 2022, the shooter pleaded guilty as charged to all 24 charges against him, including terrorism and first-degree murder. In December of last year, the now 17-year-old was sentenced to life in prison with no chance for parole.
Now, at the foundation of this case, the 4 young lives lost at Oxford High School.
Tate Meir, 16 years old, the football star who made the varsity team as a freshman. He was beloved. He was also an honor student and kind to all. We heard that over and over again.
Over and over again. Hannah St. Juliana, 14 years old, a basketball player remembered for her kind heart and silly personality and just her passion for the game. She was just about to make her debut with the Oxford team.
Madison Baldwin, 17 years old, remembered as a beautiful, bright, sweet girl, an artist who loved to draw, to read, and to write. She was due to graduate and looking forward to college.
And Justin Schilling, 17 years old, a scholar and lettered athlete who relatives say had unlimited potential. Those who knew him say Justin was simply just a pleasure to be around.
Yeah, we heard that his dad was in that courtroom. 4 lives, all gone too soon. 4 lives that will never be forgotten. 4 lives taken in a place where everybody thought they were safe. We have heard from all of their parents. I know they were watching today.
Absolutely. Now stay with 7 Action News and WXYZ.com for continuing coverage of the guilty verdict in the trial of Jennifer Crumbley. We will update you on air and online as the story unfolds.
This has been a breaking news alert. We now return you to our regularly scheduled program, already in progress.